The emergence of cities and small towns in coastal areas once inhabited by rural populations is causing undue pressure on marine together with the services that they provide. This has been occasioned by the associated shift in consumption patterns, energy requirement, and food production of the growing urban population. Consequently, this may alter the stable state of an ecosystem where all its components are known to thrive.
Considering the fact that 70% of the earth is covered by water, marine and coastal ecosystems form a significant component of global ecosystems. In fact, out of this 70%, 97% is actually composed of seas and oceans. Now, moreover, marine regions or other biomes cover about 3/4 of the Earth's surface and represent a wide habitat which is very rich of biodiversity.
Marine and coastal ecosystems are very diverse and rich in benefits that the communities harness for their use. These benefits in research and in science have been categorized into 4 groups. One of them is provisioning services, where we find fish. We have cultural services, where we, for example, along the coast, we find shrines, or tourism, where people go to see the beautiful corals that are found within these systems. We have regulating services, for example, nutrient recycling, like within the mangrove ecosystem. We have the leaves falling, these are broken down, they turn into fish food, etc. Then we also have what are known as supporting services, which in research has been found to be quite diverse and not very easy to define. For example, biodiversity nurseries or habitat for these organisms that live within these particular ecosystems.
Because of the continuous interaction between the living and non-living components of the ecosystem, it makes sense that the ecosystem itself can change over time. For example, if a certain population experiences a significant transformation, it will affect the entire ecosystem.
We all know climate change is a global phenomena where increase in global temperatures causes changes in our climatic systems. So what we expect to find is in the coastal ecosystems is we expect to see impacts such as sea level rise because of melting of snow caps in the poles. We also expect to see increased precipitation in the inland areas, which causes increase in water flow to the coastal areas. These 2 phenomena result in coastal flooding, which impacts our ecosystems. Furthermore, an increase in temperature results in changes of temperature in the ocean water, which then impacts ecosystems such as coral reefs that are very sensitive to temperature changes.
Sea level rise is just among many other challenges facing marine and coastal ecosystems. As coastal cities continue to attract urban populations, the transformation brought about by unprecedented rates of urbanization, among other agents, also pose significant threats.
Look at this place. We once had vast mangroves here, but then they were cleared to build a road. We need roads, we need to develop, but then urban planners have to consider that ecosystems have also the need to exist for our future generations.
The peri-urban areas are increasingly interfacing the interactions between urbanization, land use change with a high and often increasing population density, small land holdings, rich countryside homes, contested land tenure rights, uncoordinated conversion of agricultural land to housing, intensified resource exploitation, and a considerable economic dynamism. Chuda Creek in Mombasa County is, for instance, slowly losing its glory due to the settlement around. The creek continues to be crowded more and more by the day. With over 90% of cities and urban centers occurring in close proximity to coastal and marine ecosystems, 70% of natural resources are extracted to meet the demand in these urban centers. With these comes immense production of waste materials, which account for over 70% of global statistics.
What we are experiencing here is that we have different types of waste. We have hospital waste, we have bio waste, we have plastics, we have metals, which are mixed here in this particular dump site. And what we realize is that when we have rain, all this waste which is dumped here, we have effluent, we have water that is flowing direct to the Indian Ocean. And this water, because it contains pollutants, then it affects the life in the ocean. It affects the vegetation in the marine ecosystem. It also affects the fauna in the marine ecosystem. And therefore, we are seeing a challenge here because recently we have urbanization that is coming up in the neighborhoods. We are seeing this urbanization increasing the population. We are seeing infrastructure is increasing, and therefore we are also seeing that the waste production is also increasing.
Utapata pia maendeleo kama ya kujenga nyumba yanaendelea sana, hususan sehemu ya juu huku upande wa Chuda, upande wa Kibarani huku. Utapata majengo yale yanaathiri sana pakubwa bahari yetu, kwa sababu wengi wao hutupa taka, wengine hata sewage zao zinaishia kwenye bahari. Hivyo basi huingiza kemikali ambazo zinaathiri sana ukuaji wa mikoko na pia utagaji wa mayai kwa samaki.
From the ongoing discussions, we can see clearly that the marine ecosystems are quite critical to the survival of communities along the coastal cities, but also they are under immense threats from most of the community, as well as investments that are arising along the coastal line. And we feel this is because many of the planners and investors, as well as those who are engaged in the development projects, do not really have proper valuation systems to really account for the value of these ecosystems and their services to the wider community, as well as biodiversity. It is therefore essential that we try to encourage people to learn and adopt some of the frameworks and tools that can support ecosystem valuation in a manner that really captures their actual value in competition with other land use systems. In particular, this project will advance training on tools such as TESA Toolkit, which means the Ecosystem Services Site-Based Assessment Toolkit, as well as the DIPSAR Toolkit. But also we are going to train on some of the methods that can be used to map and take account of the land use, land cover changes along these areas, particularly making use of remotely sensed data or GIS-based data. It is our hope that at the end of this training, the practitioners and development partners who have been trained will be able to adopt and incorporate some of these tools in their regular planning and even up to the policy levels. And we hope that the institutions that are engaged in the training processes will be able to continue with the process in collaboration with the trainees to ensure that these things are mainstreamed in the daily operations of these organizations, including county governments, community-based organizations, individual practitioners, and other professionals within the Western Indian Ocean region.